Hello everyone, and welcome to this Video Some Frontier video. My name is Jay Wakefield, and here today I have got a Dell laptop to show you. Now this is not the CPi that I showed you last year. This is actually a different machine. Now Blue Planet 64 viewers may remember this machine from last March when I got it. This is a version of the CPi known as the CPi-A, which came out at the end of 99 and included slightly better graphics, different sound. The CPi used Crystal Audio. The CPi-A uses Neomagic's own sound chip with Yamaha MIDI emulation, which kind of causes a problem when trying to find the right drivers now. And it has increased RAM off of the bat, as well as increased hard disk space and processing power. The CPi came with CPi. You could get it in flavors, with processor speeds of 233, 266, or 300 megahertz. The CPi-A comes with, you can either get it with speeds of 366 or 400 megahertz. And this here, being the CPi-A 400 XT, is of course a 400. Now whereas my CPi came with 64 megs of RAM, this has come with 128 megs. And whereas the CPi-A has came with a 4.3 gigabyte IBM Travelstar hard disk, this has came with a 6 gig. So let's show you around it. This gaping hole here is where the PC card slots go in. Unfortunately, this machine didn't come with any PC card slot covers. Came with a hard drive, didn't come with an optical drive or a battery. Here's the hard disk tray, where the hard disk goes. Here's a Kensington lock slot and the left speaker. Now on the front here is a gaping hole for the battery. Now, unfortunately, and you can just about see the Cmos battery there. Actually, can you? Yep, that green thing is a Cmos battery. Unfortunately though, in order to access that, you pretty much do have to take the machine apart, even though you can see it, it's just there. Quite tantalising. Well, and I say tantalising, well, yeah, what I mean is, derp. Yeah, what I mean is, you know, if you're wanting to change it, you think, oh, there should be a way just to get into there, but there isn't. You've got to literally pare the machine down to its component parts, almost. So, Dell, derp. Unfortunately, like I said, there is no battery on here, and I really don't see fit to install one. I would like to, but, you know, I just can't see my way to spending money on something that's basically for the machine that I'm going to be pretty much mostly using, you know, near a plug socket anyway. And, you know, I do have other machines with working batteries in. Here is a CD-ROM drive. I added that. I got that for my birthday last year from my former flatmate. So that was so thank you very much for that. On the right side we have the right speaker, microphone, headphone or line out, if you will, and of course there's line in. This machine was made back in the day when you'd actually get the 3 standard ports. Of course, this doesn't have a GamePort joystick. It's no... Damn it, I wanted to say what it wasn't. And I've forgotten. It's no high-grade Notino, is what I wanted to say. Of course, that machine did come with a MIDI port. That's the only machine of its type that I've ever seen with a MIDI port. Then you have the power socket. Of course, in later Dell CP laptops, that was moved to its more commonplace on the back, on the rear of the machine. Then, of course, you have a very small vent, which is again something that was kind of enlarged. Something which was actually enlarged for the later CP series machines. Now, moving to the back, you have an outward-facing fan, IEEE 1284 parallel port, the port of 1,000 names, Centronic, LPT, printer, whatever you want to call it, a single USB 1 port, and then under this protective door you have Dell's proprietary docking station connector. Close that door there. Then, of course, you have RS-232 serial port, VGA out, and PS2 mouse and keyboard port. So, for the longest time I had Windows 98 SE installed on this machine. I was going to do a 95 and 98 dual boot. That didn't really work out. So what I've done is I've gone for something a wee bit different. It's still Windows, but it's not from the 9X line. Which makes this laptop the first time I've ever installed this version of Windows natively without using a virtual machine. Sure, I did it on my 2004 custom built, you know, just to see if it would run. But I didn't have any drivers, so basically it just kind of ran in Vga Mode. Although I do seem to remember it running at, you know, quite a high resolution in Vga Mode. Don't know if it did or not, or I'm just imagining things. I did have it running in Vga Mode. And anyway, it was only 16 colours, I remember that much. On my 2004 custom built, which was AMD Athlon XP 3000 based, but it was only on there for really a short amount of time. But now, you know, I've been meaning to install it on one of my machines for a while, but I've finally done it, and I'm going to show you today on the Dell Latitude CPi Windows NT 4.0. Not only am I going to show it to you, I'm actually going to also maybe take some time and try and discuss some of the differences between Windows NT 4 and its cousin Windows 95. So without further ado, I'm going to switch on the machine. This was sold as working but with a screen that turns red. In fact, the BIOS showed the screen turning red. And I think it's probably just a loose connection somewhere, because it turns red when I'm adjusting the screen, but apart from that, the screen's been, you know, perfectly fine. So, with Windows NT 4, you get a Reboot Menu here. The OS loader has stayed with us and, you know, is still present in today, even in Windows 8, although it's graphical. However, it's not programmed to actually appear unless you have more than one version of Windows installed. Now, there's two options here that you might find interesting. There's Windows NT Workstation version 4.00 and then Windows NT Workstation 4.00 VGA Mode. Now, you might be wondering, well, what is VGA Mode? If you look in the Windows 2000 boot menu, you'll find it there as well. Enable Vga Mode. Basically, Vga Mode is it loads Windows NT up with 16 colours, 640 by 480. It's kind of like a version of Save Mode, but not really. It's a troubleshooting mode for NT4. What we're going to do now, though, is just kind of load the standard NT4. Now, NT4 doesn't have a loading splash screen. It just kind of shows this. Windows NT version 4.0 build 1381 Service Pack 6. One system processor, 128 megs of memory. Now, that kind of is a good place for me to start. This loading screen is kind of a good example of the type of operating system Windows NT is. Utilitarian. There's no need for a loading screen, so we won't have it. Instead, what they do is they have the Windows NT logo on the desktop of the login screen. And this is the first thing that you'll get to see of Windows NT. Kind of basic, it looks like Windows 95, and it says press Ctrl-Alt-Delete to log in. Obviously, all versions of NT have done that. But, obviously, so does this one. You can actually program Windows Vista and, Windows 7 to actually ask you to press Ctrl-Alt-Delete to log in as well. But, it's enabled by default on Windows NT 4.0 and below. So, let's do that. And then I'm going to log in. Now I'm connected to my network here, so that was awful fast. I don't know why one or more event services is having problems. Sometimes if core system files have been modified, you need to reapply the service pack. Which I find a wee bit disturbing, but never mind. So here's my desktop. Now, there is one thing that you might notice, and that is I have 256 colour support. And that is because, while Windows NT is mostly about as utilitarian as an old farming Land Rover, it does have a couple of cool fripperies. For example, you get the Plus tab. This means you can actually change icons for My Computer, Network Neighborhood, Recycle Bin Full, and Recycle Bin Empty. I don't know why Microsoft saw fit to put those there, but kind of nice nonetheless. You also get to use large icons. Now that I can see a use for. Show window contents while dragging. I've always liked that. Always select that whenever I have the opportunity. When it doesn't derp. Okay, there we go. Smooth edges on screen fonts. Always a nice idea. Show icons using all possible colours. Or stretch desktop wallpaper to fit the screen. These are all options that, of course, were ported over to Windows 98 in the Effects tab. Oh, and there's a Neomagic Display Driver thingy-jig tab. Also, you might have noticed by the Internet Explorer 6 icon, the NT4 does actually have support for Internet Explorer 6, whereas Windows 95 doesn't. That's basically because NT4 is a business class operating system, and I guess Microsoft saw fit to give it longer term support. In fact, that is generally what happens. Professional or business versions of operating systems from Redmond do usually get more support, even if they crash. However, that is one of the beautiful things about NT. If something does crash, you can actually just go into the task manager just like you can with modern versions of Windows, and then just hit the end task button. Although Internet Explorer seems to have picked itself up. A couple of things I do have on here. Oh, before I do show you that though, another frippery which I did think was quite out of the ordinary, 3D pinball. I don't know why this is on there, but as anyway, let's put it in full screen so I can actually see what I'm doing. We can show that at 640 by 480, this screen is really quite good at panel fit. It's a lot better than the ThinkPads were, the T21 and T23. Derp. However, Windows NT 4 is mainly about work. And like I said, the operating system is quite utilitarian. I mean, I used to joke around when I was 13, 14. I used to say, what would you get if you booted Windows NT into safe mode? More features. However, like we've just seen, Windows NT doesn't have save mode. I'll tell you a couple of other things it doesn't have either. Doesn't have plug and play. Surprisingly enough, it calls itself new technology, but no plug and play. This is another example of how Windows NT is designed for system use. In fact, even with PC cards, you have to install PC card drivers for things that Windows 95 would actually support off of the bat. So let's have a look at hardware. Now, there's no system information to speak of in NT. This is where you go and get information about your devices. And as you can see, it's all quite complicated and it's all quite convoluted. You'd go to the different control panels to set up things like network adapters. Instead of going to add new hardware, you'd probably just go to adapters. Now, bearing in mind that during setup, Windows NT does try and automatically detect things such as network adapters and display adapters. You go to network to install a network adapter. You go to display to install a display adapter. And you go to multimedia to actually, and then devices to install your sound card drivers. Which is absolutely fine. And of course, if you had a modem, you'd go there to install your modems. However, when installing stuff on the Dell Latitude CPi, I found that a lot of the drivers that I was trying to install actually did come with installer routines. So as long as your hardware manufacturer is nice to you, that does take a lot of the fuss out of it. But the hardware abstraction layer that Windows NT runs means that this system can run on x86 systems like this with a Pentium 2. So it's got a 686 class chip in it. It can run on DEC alpha chips. It can run on MIPS chips. And yes, it can even run on good old PowerPC. So Windows NT was, pretty multifaceted on, the applications it could run on. However, towards the end of the 90s, things were kind of moving towards the x86. There was a version of Word 97 released for, natively for DEC alpha chips, but to be honest, it was really quite buggy. It really wasn't too reliable, which is not something that most people say about Microsoft Office. I wouldn't say. Microsoft Office is generally, the Microsoft Office programs are generally some of the best out there. So this, well, must have been a break from the norm. The x86 version of Word 97, as you can see, running absolutely fine. Watch it now, it'll crash. You made to look like a stupid person. Nope, that all seems to be working. And of course, PaintShop Pro runs. However, while Windows NT is quite Spartan, it did come with DirectX 2. And when Service Pack 3 was released, so was DirectX 3 for Windows NT. In fact, it came as part of the Service Pack. So, with Windows NT and DirectX 3, I mean, it didn't run much, but it can run some games. Now, just to note that DirectX 3 is the last version of DirectX that was officially made available for NT. I'm pretty sure the modding community had something to say about that, and if not do about that. But there were some things that could actually run, pretty fine on NT4. So I'm actually going to show you a couple of games running here. First off, one of my favourites, Theme Hospital. Now I've actually installed this and tested it. It runs fine. Unfortunately, there's no MIDI support on this laptop because of, like I said, the drivers, the politics. My good friend Matthew H16 did manage to get me some drivers for Windows 98 because my friend Billy Carr was also looking at that as well, but no MIDI for NT4 just for the time being. But that's okay because I generally turn off the music anyway. And the sound's a wee bit scratchy as well, that doesn't really help matters. Let's have a look. So sound effects work just fine on this game. Yeah. That must be a CD audio or a WAV file. I always thought that was a MIDI file. Should have known different when I played it on older machines and they had FM synthesis MIDI. So, can build GP's office. There. Stick a wee door. A couple of windies. That's a room. Let's put a desk there. Mouse button doesn't seem to want to be a mouse button anymore. go. I know it's a wee bit cluttered, but never mind. That's the GP's office, and then I'm supposed to hire a GP. We'll hire one with psychological credentials. Psychologists. Credentials. Psychiatrist, even. I'll get the right doctor. No, you're not. Your job isn't to wander around the hospital. Your job is to sit there and type nonsense on the computer. No, what did I just tell you? Oh, he's away to his bookcase. Filing cabinet. You're going to check the patient files that you don't have. That's a good idea. Not used to the mouse buttons. The mouse buttons on this class of C series laptops, the left mouse button is a lot bigger than the right mouse button, which really doesn't do much for left-handed users. Not that I know many left-handed users who do actually use the mouse button swapped and in the wrong hand. It's really quite funny that, because a lot of left-handed users seem to just use the mouse in the right hand. I really don't know why that is. I'm right hand. I've got right. But yeah, nowadays mouse buttons tend to be the same length. If there is even mouse buttons on there now. Now we've all gone to kind of Apple's kind of double tap for right click, single tap. There you go. But that's a wee hospital. Dr. Jekyll. Right. And I like that. The receptionist, kind of, a few quips there. It kind of makes the game quite funny. It's like, it's like, she'll be like, please have your credit cards ready. Look out for other Bullfrog products. And one of my favourites is patients are reminded not to die in the corridors. Now I'm going to put another game in here, just to show something a wee bit more fast-paced. But in order to do that, I'm going to have to alter the resolution, which you can actually do on the fly in NT4, certainly with Service Pack 6. NT4 is quite well known for needing to be restarted after, even the most mundane of things. So the fact that it doesn't need to be restarted after you've switched screen resolution is, quite nice. Here is a favourite from Billy Carr's childhood, Earthworm Jim. I'm going to just kind of put that in there. And this will autoplay if it knows what's good for it. Okay, I've obviously not trained it hard enough. Never mind. There we go. Now this does seem to like to take quite a while to load on this laptop, but I have noticed that Windows NT4 on this machine compared with Windows 98 2nd edition, the whole thing is a wee bit sluggish. Here we go. Now one thing I will say, the sound effects don't work very well at all on this game, on Windows NT4 on this particular machine. And that is a real shame. I mean, the music works fine, but I've just turned it off because I find it quite off-putting. I find it's a bit of a shame about the sound effects because, I really do like the sound effects on this game. Cow launched. I've always wondered what is the deal with that. Why do we need to launch cows? Wherever we need to do it, it is very funny nonetheless. That crow is trying to get me, and there we go. it will be shoosted. What on earth? Right. If you want to see this game being played properly, might I suggest you check out Billy's video from 1996 of 7-year-old Billy playing this game. Also features Billy's dad showing you how to do a drawing on paint, which is pretty good. I like that. That Packard Bell Legend 822 obviously brought Billy very happy memories. You know, and it'd be great for, you know, Billy to get an example of the old Girdle back again. I'd love to see that. Damn, it's slippery. It's like the big freeze winter 2009, 2010. Nobody... Crevens. Stop throwing junk then. Oh my goodness. I do love platformers. I did try Sonic CD, but I couldn't get it to go. So, I mean, that really won't go on NT, but, you know, I'm quite surprised, actually. You know, I'm playing, you know, this game, and it's like, you know, I've got to tell myself, I am on NT4 with this. I mean, Windows 2000 plays games really quite nicely. You've probably seen me, you know, in some of my videos where I've demonstrated a Windows 2000 laptop's ability to game. But with NT4, that really wasn't its purpose. But Windows NT4, you know, the longevity of it, beyond amazing, you know. A local library. I know of a local library that were using NT4 workstations in the year 2005. So, you know, it really did live quite a long time, and especially considering you had Internet Explorer 6, which was the browser of choice right up until, well, I'd say it was the browser of choice. I mean, obviously, you know, you had diehards like myself using Firefox and, you know, things like the Opera browser, but, you know, back then the majority of people did use Internet Explorer. You know, so that was the browser that, you know, was in use. And Windows NT4 could run it. So, you know, to have as an internet terminal was absolutely fine. And because of, you know, the inherent, you know, security of NT4, you know, compared to Windows 9X, and the lightweightedness of the operating system compared to Windows 2000 and XP, which, what's that saying? Continue down the way. Okay, I don't know how to get down the way, so watch where you're going. I now remember using NT4 for the... Alright, you, quit. Quit whatever it is that you're trying to do and let me get on with my job, which is, I think, shooting stuff. Whoa, 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 whoa! Alright. Settle down. Ha! How redneck is that? You get across there by shooting your way across. Oh my goodness. And here we go, we've completed the level. And then kind of bump the resolution back up to its usual setting of 1024 by 768. like I said, NT is a wee bit sluggish on here. Not really liking the performance. So I don't know what all that's about, considering it came out in 1996. But I mean, that is Windows NT 4. A couple of the other things I managed to add. Dell released a USB mass storage device driver. So you could actually run NT 4 and have support for USB flash disks. Which back in the day was pretty good because, I mean, it doesn't support FAT32, so I can't use my modern day flash disks. But back in, when flash disks were popular, even in years like, 2004, 2005, your flash disk sizes, the maximum you'd get is 512 megabytes. And that's only just big enough to be formatted as a FAT32 file system. So I mean, that is pretty good. I mean, the NT4 could be used, legitimately, all these years later. Microsoft didn't want to add USB support to NT4 because, well, a lot of people would guess, and to be honest, I've got to agree because I see where they're coming from, that, if NT supported USB flash drives, it would just be another reason for people not to upgrade to Windows 2000 and Windows XP, and a lot of people probably wouldn't have done. But, I mean, I probably, if it had had this, more support for things that I used, I probably would have actually used NT4 for a while back in the day. Because it is just, I don't know, I do kind of like it. However, I've got to say, as a gamer, yes, it can run some games, but it's kind of more as if, nowadays it's kind of more as if to say, hey, I can run some retro games. If I'm wanting to run retro games, I'll probably just install Windows 95 or 98. And another thing that NT doesn't have in its feature gamut is Advanced Power Management. Tried installing Dell's Advanced Power Management driver for this, which was actually by Directx, but that didn't really work either. It kind of crashed. Caused NT to freeze up. So, as a result, you don't get features like standby, and you certainly don't get anything like soft powered off. Nope. This is Windows NT shutting down. As you can see, it's returned to the default profile. Freddie Mercury has gone. And you get this nice wee dialog box saying it's now safe to turn off your computer. And you're given the option to restart. As a user of Windows 9X, later 2000, later ME, later XP, I never really felt comfortable about, having my computer in a state where I still have the mouse pointer running. I still have basically, well, it's in Windows. I used to get given into trouble for shutting off a computer when it was in Windows 3.1, but obviously, it'll have moved the hard disk's head over to an area of the disk that wasn't, didn't have data on it. So, obviously it will have made the system safe to shut down in the old-fashioned way. But I've never really, it does feel odd to kind of shut the system down, knowing I'm still in Windows, and just kind of going, boop, switching it off. Doesn't feel right somehow. But this is the way, this was the NT4 way, and the ways of NT 3.5x and NT 3.x before it. I did forget to show you actually that I am on the internet with this, and yes, it does connect to my network, and I can access my Windows 7 shared devices on here. So it really, there is really a lot that it can do. But equally, there's a lot that it can't do. Now, for businesses, which is what Windows NT was designed for, it's perfect. You've got software permissions, user account permissions, security, good network support, good domain support. And, it's just simple. No crap, just simple, everyday utilitarian computing. I know I've said this 1,000 times in this video, but that is Windows NT 4. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed my video. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, please feel free to subscribe to my channel. Instructions on how to do so will follow. And while you're there, please feel free to peruse through my other videos if you've not already seen them. And then I hope you'll join me for my next video, which will be coming up. Thank you for watching.